Good afternoon, students. Thank you very much for availing your crucial time so that you can listen to this presentation on Mathematics 5. Our subject code is BES Math 31, and this contact session is focusing on our August examination. Pay attention as we are going through this presentation. Welcome all. Thank you very much once again. This examination based contact session will look at some very few contents that in most cases when I was marking your assignment, I found that most students did not do well in those parts, and they are so important that you are well prepared for the examination. Let's go through. Before we start with our content, let's begin with the general information that I want you to pay attention to. Go through your assignments, please, as you are preparing for examination, and revise well the questions that you did not do well in the examination. Pay attention to those topics that you did not do so well in the examination. And I'm happy now that at least we have our study guides. So then let's go through very much. Pay attention to the outcomes in the study guide as you are preparing for your examination. And then I want to encourage you to watch previous presentations, as this presentation will not cover the whole of Mathematics 5. So pay attention, go through the presentation that we did previously so that they can help you when you are preparing. And then I'm sure that your presentation will give you some directions on what to do. There are so many crucial videos that we did, and they're very much important. Go through, watch the videos, and any question that you might have, feel free to contact me anytime. Read the instruction very well before you attempt to answer the question, and underline. I like underlining. Well, the moment you start reading, underline so that you can understand the question, and then make sure that you are answering the question, please. And then read the instruction on the cover, especially on the degree of accuracy that you have to write down your answers to, or to how many decimal places you have to give your answers to, perhaps to how many significant figures you have to write your answer to. And so please make sure that you adhere to those instructions. And take note that this is not the examination scope. Of course, there might be part that will be covered in the examination. It might not be all of them, because mathematics is very intertwined and we have to interconnect them together. And then this is a little that is going to be covered compared to what is really covered in the examination. Our examination is out of 130, and this short presentation will not cover all of them. As I said, go through the presentation that were done. There are so many, and they might help you as well. The very first thing that you are going to look at is the ratios. Ratios has to do with comparing quantities of the same kind. So then we have ratios, we have rates, we have proportions, direct and indirect. So then let's pay attention to ratios. I found that this most of the students did not do so well in this part. It's quite easy, but let's go through. Let's see what we can do. And any question that you might have, please contact me. And under ratios, we have three parts, mainly three parts, where you should know how to simplify the ratios. To write ratios in the simplest form, you must know how to divide or share quantities in a given ratio. You should know how to find a missing quantity when the ratio is given and another quantity is given. The ratio questions are obvious. If it say simplify, you know how to simplify. It will click in your mind whether here it's about dividing in a given ratio or perhaps here I'm going to find a missing quantity if a ratio and one more quantity is given. It will show you, it will come out automatic from the question. As long as you read and understand those questions, you will get it right. Let's look at the first example. A mother divides 12,000 kilograms of maize meal between her 3 children, Eric, age 24, Ben, age 20, and Ali, age 16, in the ratio of their ages. That is the statement. There's no question yet there. So then a mother divides. There's a key word there already, dividing. When we look at dividing, what comes in your mind? Simplify the ratio in which the maize meal was divided. Simplify. So then we have those 3 ratios, which is 24 to 20 to 16. Let us simplify that ratio. That is our 1.1. Simplify this ratio. Okay? In normally simplifying a ratio can even worth 2 marks. So little to do with so many marks. So let's simplify this ratio. Which number can divide all of them? Now, if you take 2, of course 2 can divide 24 12 times. 2 can go in 20 10 times. And 2 can go in 16 8 times. But look at this answer. If you leave your answer like this, it is not yet simplified. Make sure that you simplify fully. And to simplify, there is no number that can divide. Make sure that there is no number other than 1 that can divide these 2 numbers. So that if you look at these numbers, they are still even. And then our answer is not yet simplified. So then let's move further. Don't get discouraged like maybe 2. Don't erase your answer. You are correct. It's only that you did not fully simplify your answer. So then try to make sure that your answer is 100% simplified. We can go further. If you take 2 again, 2 goes in 12 6 times, 2 goes in 10 5 times, and 2 goes in 8 4 times. Now if you look at our answer, it's fully simplified, and so our simplest answer is going to be 6 to 5 to 4. Okay, that is it. Now the next question is, show that Ben received 1/3 or 4,000 kilograms of maize meal. The question said show. Now when I was marking your assignments, sometimes you will find that the students will make like 1/3 times 12,000 kilograms. That will give us 4,000 kilograms. So then, did you show anything here? Of course you did not show. You only went through what you were given already. Show that Ben is the one who is 20 years old. So then show that Ben received 4,000 or 1/3 of the maize meal, 1/3 of the maize meal. What must you do? So then it said that a mother divide. When we are dividing quantities in a ratio, the main thing that we do is add ratios together. We usually add ratios, and when we are adding ratios, make sure that you know what to do. So then you can either use these original numbers 24 20 and 16, it will still come up to the same answer, or you can use your simplest answer. It doesn't matter. So then I prefer to use small numbers so that I can work with small numbers. Then you add ratios together. That would be 6 plus 5 plus 4, which will give us 15. That is 15. That is the total amount that was divided between these three children. Now, how much Ben received? That is what you have to work it out first. And so and so that we can see whether Ben really received a third or a 4,000 kg. Okay, so then add the ratios together. Which one is Ben's portion? Ben got 5. Let's take 5 over 15, then times 1,000 or 12,000 kg. If you take your calculator, 5 over 15 times 12,000, that will definitely give us 4,000 kilograms, and that is how we can show it. That is how you can show that obviously Ben received 4,000 kilograms. Or if you come back to this part, 5 over 15, if you try to simplify it, it will definitely give us 1 over 3. And according to the instruction, according to the question, it said Ben received either 1 over 3 or 4,000 kilograms, and that is it. If you simplify this part, Ben's portion out of the total ratio, that will give us 1 over 3. Similarly, if you take 5 over 15 to work out exactly how many kilograms Ben received and multiply it with the total number of kilograms to be divided, it will give us 4,000. If you make 4,000 kilograms over the total, to make it a fraction, over the total 12,000 kilograms, it will definitely give us 4 over 12. And if we simplify 4 over 12, it will give us 1 over 3, which are the same. And that is how we can show it. So then when it comes to questions like show it, how you happen to get this answer. Show and make sure that you show every step. Okay? So then when it comes to dividing, I repeat, you add the ratios together. When you're adding ratios together, that is when you want to find out how many portions were divided between. So then imagine we have a total of 15 things, and out of 15, Eric received 5. Out of 15, Ben received 4. And out of 15, Ali received 4. Ben received 5 and Ali received 4. Now, that is how we do when we are adding ratios together. The next thing that you need to do, students, make sure that when you come to ratios, read the question and make sure that you are answering the question. Make sure that you answer what is being asked. Okay. I want us to move on to the next question. It said, number 2. In a grade 5 class, the ratio of boys to girls is 4 to 5. That is where I said now, the moment you start reading, put something on paper. So then it's in a grade 5 class, we have boys and girls. The ratio of boys to girls, so then we have boys and girls, is 4 to 5. In ratio first come, first served. Since boys came first in our statement, it will take up the first ratio, and the second one, it will be obviously for girls. Now, if there are 16 boys, understand that? So then 16 is not the total number of learners in grade 5. It's only for boys. There are 16 boys. Find the total number of learners in the class. The question asks you to find how many learners are in that class. So then we have the number of boys, and the question is asking you to work out the total. How can we get the total? Of course, to get the total, we have to take the number of boys plus the number of girls. But then if we are only having the number of boys, how can we get the number of girls? Now, ratios is it's related to direct proportion. Okay, if you increase the number of boys, you increase the number of girls in the same quantity. with the same ratio. If you decrease, make sure that you decrease the same as well. So then we have like 3 methods of doing this. You can cross multiply to work out this missing one. 6 or 5 times 16 multiplied by 4. What will be the answer? Okay. Or you can take 5, 4. Which number can I multiply with 4 to give me 16? I can take 4. If I multiply, if you take 4 times 4 is equal to 16, use the same number here as well. 5 times 4, it will give us what? It will give us 20. That means we have 20 girls in that class. Okay? You can either cross multiply or find out. Or maybe you can take 4 over 16 times 5. What answer will you get there? Alright, to definitely give us 20 girls. Now, since we have the number of girls, we can work out the total. We can work out the total. You cannot stop at 20 because 20 is just the number of girls. So then I always say, make sure that you are answering the question. Go back to the question again and make sure that question yourself, did I answer the question? If you know that you did not answer the question, go through, see where you went wrong, see where you stopped, and make sure that you have answered the question. Now we have 16 boys and we have 20 girls. That means the total number of learners in the class, 20 and 16 will give us 36 learners. We have 36 learners in that class. Alright, so then we have answered our question. Alright, so then you can see in that ratio, we are not given the total. We are not dividing in a given ratio. We are given the ratio and one outcome to work out another outcome so that we can work out the total. So then this question is definitely different. It's totally different from what we did in the first example. Go through your ratios, practice, make sure that you know what to do. If you got stuck, I'm always available. Please. Alright, the next part that I want us to look at, students, is the sequences. Under these sequences, I want us to look at the nth term and using the formula. When you talk about the nth term, that is a formula that can be used to generate an equation, a sequence, or you can make use of it so that you can find a missing term or to find the term number of that sequence. So then sequence is quite general. We have not really general, but we have a lot of things in when it comes to sequences. We have geometric sequences, we have arithmetic sequences, but the one that we are going to do is quite simple. Alright, the general formula for the nth term is given as Tn is equal to Dn, open brackets, A minus D. That is the general formula for the nth term. Tn is equal to Dn, open brackets, A minus D. You can use this general formula to come up with the equation, to come up with the sequence, or to come up with the formula for the sequence. Alright. D represent the common difference. A represent the first term, and N represent the term number. Okay, so then that is the general the general formula for the nth term. Okay, let's look at that first example. In the sequence, we have this sequence 6, 11, 16, 21. From this sequence, find the next two terms. That is quite easy. Just add the next two terms. Before you add, find out how you got these numbers. Alright, so then from 6, how did you get 11? You can find the difference here. Did you add, did you subtract, did you minus, and did you What did you do? Did you square? Did you power? Did you divide? What did you do to the first term in order to get the other terms? The first term is 6. How did you get 5? If I take 5, 6 plus 5 will give me 11. Of course, it will give you 11. If you take 11 plus 5, will I get 16? Of course, I'll get 16. If you take 16 plus 5, will I get 21? So that is the rule. So you can say the rule of that sequence, we are adding 5. That is the rule of that sequence. Okay? Now, we can make use of the rule to add or to continue with our sequence. Since we know that we are adding 5, so then let's keep on adding 5. What is 21 plus 5? That will give us 26. And what is 26 plus 5? That will give us 31. So then our next two terms will be 26 and 31. One more thing. Make sure that you look at the sequence very well. So then if the sequence is growing, then if the numbers are going up, numbers can only go up, they can only increase sometimes when you are adding or maybe when you are multiplying. We know when you are subtracting, numbers become low, and when you are dividing, the numbers become smaller. So when you are adding and multiplying, that is when the growth of the sequence comes in. All right, that is the first question. The second question is to find the formula now. Find the formula of the nth term. To find the formula of the nth term it's not difficult as long as you know your general formula. As long as you know the general formula, Tn dn a minus 2. A minus d. So then let's find the general formula. Let's find our d. Dn is equal to dn, open brackets, a minus d. Our d, that is the first, the difference is 5. If it was negative, if you were subtracting, then it would be minus. Now since it's addition, it's 5. And then a, our first term, is 6. And then the difference is still 5. We are adding 5. So then our first term is 6, and the difference you are adding 5. It's just a matter of substituting these two numbers in the sequence, in our general sequence. You substitute them in the general sequence. Okay, after that, you know what you have to do. Dn is equal to 5, where there is d, we put our difference 5n, and then that will be a plus 6, that will be 6, and then minus negative 5, positive 5 here. Then you simplify, is equal to 5, and what is 6 minus 5? Work out the bracket. 6 minus 5 will give us 1, which is a positive number. So then our sequence is 5n plus 1. This is our general formula. So then you work out the difference and the first term, you substitute the d and the a in your general formula, work out the brackets, and then you finalize your formula. So then this is our formula for the sequence, meaning these numbers were generated by using this formula. To find our term 1 is 6. Term 1 is equal to 5 times 1 plus 6. 5 times 1 is 5. 5 plus 1, that is plus 1, is equal to 6. What will be term 2? Term 2 is equal to 5, and that is 5 times term 2 plus 1. 5 times 2 is 10. 10 plus 1 obviously is 11, and we have 11 here. So then our formula is that way. Tn is equal to 5n plus 1. Okay, then the next question is use the formula to find the 10th term. Use the formula to find the 10th term. Now in mathematics, we have what we have called a follow through, and this one applies when students, if your students is, if your answer is wrong for the previous question is wrong, then don't run away from it. Make use of it, because so that you can get these marks. Okay, maybe let me say your formula here, when you find your formula, it was 2n maybe plus 3. Make use of that, because the question said use the formula. Whatever you got there, make use of it. You get the correct answer here. In mathematics, sometimes we don't really focus on the 100% correct answer. Sometimes we look at how our students understand things. If you have the idea, this is what you have to do, then you know. If you know how to apply, then you get the marks for your application. Okay, so then let's use our formula to find the 10th term. Our formula is Tn is equal to 5n plus 1. I want term 10. Term 10 will be what now? 5, where there's n, it will be 10 plus 1. And then term 10 will be, this is 50. 50 plus 1 is equal to 51. Use your formula. If your formula was 2n plus 3, just make use of that, so that I'll give you your marks here, because you have applied what you have used. All right. Okay, any question, please, I'm always available. Let's look at the first question. The second question, consider the formula Tn is equal to 3n minus 1. Let me see, say we have this formula 3n minus 1. You have that formula. Okay, as I said, we are going to use the formula to work out, to find the formula, and we are going to use the formula to find the sequence. Okay, consider the formula Tn is equal to 3n minus 1. Now use the formula to write down the first 3 terms. That is the question. Use this formula to find the first 3 terms. What will be your term 1, what will be your term 2, and what will be your term 3? That is what the question asks you to find out. Okay, so use the formula. Term 1 will be 3 times term 1 minus 1. That will be 3 minus 1, which will give us 2. The first term is going to be 2. Term 2 is 3 times 2 minus 1. 3 times 2 is 6. 6 minus 1. Term 2 is going to be 5. Term 3 is 3 times 3 minus 1. 3 times 3 is 9. 9 minus 1 is 8. So then our first 3 terms are going to be 2, 5, and 8. Those are the first 3 terms of our sequence, provided that it's 3n minus 1. Use that formula. Okay, the second question said, which term is equal to 50? Which term? Is it term 1, term 2, term 3, term 4, term 5 is equal to 50? In other words, if you are having this formula 3n minus 1, which term is equal to 50? That is what the question asks you to find out. So then let's make use of our formula. So then 3n minus, you are given that this is 50. You substitute 3n. What is n now? Minus 1. That is what you want to find out. How can you work it out? You simply solve for n. Okay, solve for n. You know this is become in our equation. And how do we solve the equations? You know what to do. Take 50 on that, 1 on that side. It is a minus, then it will be a plus. 50 plus 1 is equal to 3n. And then 50, that will be 51 is equal to 3n. And 51, divide both sides by 3. So then n is equal to what? 53 3 goes in 51 how many times? 3 goes in 5. I should think this one is going to give us 17. Not sure. So then n is equal to 17. If you just take your calculator and take 51 divided by 3, then you get the term number. Okay, that is it. When it comes to the sequences now, as I said, sequence is having quite a lot of things. You find sequences of square numbers, you find sequences of cubic numbers, you find sequences of prime numbers. Unfortunately here we don't, for us to find the formula for the general formula, the nth term for prime numbers is not quite easy, but to look at it one of the good days. To find we have the general formula for powers of numbers and so on. So then make sure that you know what to do. And these numbers, we call them, like we have special sequences, because they don't have a specific ratio or common difference between them. We call them general special sequences, and we should know them. We should know what square numbers are, what cubic numbers are, what prime numbers are, and what powers of numbers are. We should know those sequences as well. All right, I want us to move on to the last part about algebra now. Now, when it comes to algebra, I find students still confusing these 3 terms: simplifying, factorizing, and solving. My dear students, these 3 concepts are not the same at all. To simplify is to make something simple, to bring it in simplest form. And to factorizing has to do with factors. And solving is to find the value of a letter. What does a letter represent? Which number is represented by a letter? Let's look at these 3 examples so that you know a difference between the 3. And when you are doing your examination, make sure that you are not confusing them and you answer them correct. The first question is factorize 18 PR minus 24 PQ. Let us factorize. To factorize has to do with using the factors, and factorizing has, I think we have 4 ways of factorizing. We have a common factor, we have grouping, we have completing the square, and by using the quadratic equation. Okay, factorizing, this one we use the common factor. Take a number that can divide the highest common factor of 18 and 24. So then we find the highest common factor of the 2 numbers, 18 and 24. The highest number, or the biggest number that can divide 18 and 24, can take 6. And then let's look at the letters. We have P here and P. The highest common factor of P and P is P. Now in case we have powers, like maybe we have power 3 here and power 2 here. When it comes to the letters, we look at the letter with the smallest power. Okay, and we cannot use R in our highest common. Remember, it's common because R is not common in both terms. We don't have an R here, so you can not make use of R. Similarly, we cannot make use of Q because it's not common. It's not appearing in both terms. So then our highest common factor is only 6P. That is our highest common factor. Okay, and then 6P goes in 6 goes in 18 3 times. P goes in P 1, and then R, that will remain there. So then I always say divide both terms with your highest common factor. And we know how to divide algebraic expressions. 6 goes in 18 is 3 times. P goes in P, there will be 1, and then R. there. Okay, then it will be 3r. If you want to make sure that it's correct, you should multiply this 6 by the term which is inside. It will definitely give you this term outside here. 6 times 3 is 18, and p and r, it will give us pr, and that is what we are having there. And then 6 goes in 24, is 4 times, and then p and p out 1 time, and then we have a q there. And then if you want to try if it's 100% correct, if you go back, 6 times 4 it's 24, and then p and q, that is what you are having there. That is how we factorize by a common factor. Practice them and make sure that you know how to do them. Then the next second one is to simplify. Simplify 6ab times 3ab power 3. Simplify, and this is multiplication. How do we multiply algebraic expression? You multiply straightforward. You can multiply like and unlike terms. Okay, 6 times 3 is 18. A times A is A squared, and B times B power 3 is B power is it B power 3? B power 4. And we know that when we are multiplying powers of the same base, we add. This is A power 1 and this is A power 1. If the bases are the same and we are multiplying, we add the indices together. A 1 plus 1, that will give us A power 2. Similarly, B, this is B power 1 and this is B power 3. Our bases are the same, B and B. And then if the bases are the same, keep the base and add the indices. That will bring us to B power 4. So then make sure that you know how to simplify. And then in simplifying, we have a lot. Sometimes we simplify addition, A plus over 3 maybe plus A plus 4. How can we simplify this? You know what to do. When you are adding their fractions, make sure that the denominators are the same. And how do we simplify simple division? Or maybe they said A 9a power 2b power 3 divided by 3ab, for instance. How can you do this? You should know how to do that. And then if you have a question, you cannot do everything here, feel free to contact me every time. Then we come to the third one about solving. We have 2a minus 3 equals to 15. How can we solve this equation? When we are solving equation, we find the value of the letter. What does a represent? That is what solving equations is all about. How do we solve equations? Take like terms, okay? Take 3 on that side. That will be 15. Then you change the sign to be plus 3 that side. You remain with 2a here. And then you work out 15 plus 3, it will give us 18. I want a. To get rid of these 2, I divide both sides by 2, and then 2 goes in 18, so then to give us a is equal to 6. So then if I put 6 here, will it give us 15? If I put 6 here, will I get 15? 2 times 6 is 12. A is not 6, but a is 9. Okay, if I put 9 here, 2 times 9 is 18. 18 minus 3, obviously to give us 15. So then make sure that you go back again and see whether it will add up if you are 100% correct. Okay, that is all for today on Mathematics 5. Make sure that you go through very well. Practice and make sure that you know every part. Now, we did not go through these things, but when you are preparing for your examination, try to go through working with numbers, different types of numbers, prime, square, cubic, and working with numbers. There's so many things, percentage, is also there, rate is also there. So then make sure that you go through. And interest, compound and simple interest, they are part of numbers as well. You should know how to work with those types of interest. Simple logarithms, the presentation that I made previously was we did something about logarithms, so then go back and see if it can help you, and if it did not, you must always contact me. And simple inequalities and how to present them on the number line. Trigonometry with right angle triangles and bearings, try to go through the trigonometry, the theorem of Pythagoras, the SOHCAHTOA, and so on. The SOHCAHTOA, the sin, the cos, and the tan, how to work with them. Make sure that you know how to do, and the bearings, how to find bearings, and then drawing cumulative curves as well. You should know how to do that part. And then go back to our previous presentations. We did those things. And if you have any question, please contact me. In conclusion, mathematics needs a lot of practice. So then practice, and then make sure that you read the question very carefully. And I always say underline the moment you start reading, so that you understand yourself and you understand the question much better. Answer the question completely and look at the marks allocated. Don't spend too much time on a question that is only worth 2 marks, for instance. And go make use of your time wisely. Okay, and write neatly as you can, please. I don't want your 3 to look like a 5, or an S to look like a 5 as well, or a 3. So then make sure that your handwritings are visible, your numbers are visible. I don't want to compromise, and I don't want to see to rob you of your marks over things that you have written correct, because I cannot see them. So then try by all means to write neatly and legibly. For this presentation, I wish you all the best in your examination, and I thank you very much.